In actuality, a seer is a seer, particularly one who is entitled to see visions. Visions can take various forms, including a personal visitation or appearance of deity or heavenly angels. In another type of vision, the veil is lifted from a person's mind, and their spiritual eyes behold the things of God. This type of vision might be called a mind vision. Finally, visionary experiences can also be conveyed through spiritual instruments, such as the Nephite interpreters, or in the case of Joseph Smith, a small, unusual stone which he had in his possession. A number of years ago, I decided to explore the types of visions Joseph Smith had, as well as how many. And I was rather surprised when I discovered that documentation exists to show that he had over 70 visions. Most of these visions are not found in the standard works, but pervade the prophet's own history and the records kept by contemporaries who were present when a vision was received or when Joseph Smith spoke about his sacred communications. Joseph Smith may have received more visitations of heavenly personages than any other prophet in the history of the earth. Certainly his most magnificent and doctrinally significant theophany occurred in the sacred grove in the spring of 1820, when the Father and the Son appeared and ushered in the opening of the latter-day dispensation. 3 years later, young Joseph was visited for the first time by the resurrected angel Moroni, the last known survivor of the Nephite nation. Thereafter, from September 1823 until July 1829, when Joseph Smith returned the plates, a period of nearly 6 years, Moroni appeared numerous times to the prophet, 22 of which can be documented, to help Joseph Smith receive the plates and to later provide additional instruction during the course of the translation. But Moroni was not Joseph's only spiritual teacher during these preparatory years. Statements by some of the prophet's contemporaries reveal that during his annual interviews with Moroni, the young seer was visited and taught by numerous ancient prophets and apostles. Joseph never mentioned who these angelic ministrants were, but John Taylor provided a few possible identities. He reported, when Joseph Smith was raised up as a prophet of God, Mormon, Moroni, Nephi, and others of the ancient prophets who formerly lived on this continent came to him and communicated to him certain principles pertaining to the gospel of the Son of God. Elder Taylor continued, the principles which he had placed him in communication with the ancient apostles and prophets, such men as Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Noah, Adam, Seth, Enoch, and the apostles that lived on this continent, as well as those who lived on the Asiatic continent. He seemed to be as familiar with these people as we are with another. In the Wentworth letter, published in 1842, the prophet stated, after having received many visits from the angels of God, the angel of the Lord delivered the records into my hands. So although Moroni was Joseph Smith's main instructor during the annual interviews at the Hill Cumorah, the ancient Book of Mormon prophet also invited a number of very special guest visitors. Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery also testified of the personal appearance of John the Baptist, Peter, James, John, Moses, Elias, and Elijah, who appeared to confer priesthood authority and keys. The fact that both the prophet and Oliver were co-participants in these visitations gives additional testimony and credibility to the reality of these visionary experiences. A second category or type of vision is that of a mind vision. A distinguishing difference between a visitation vision and a mind vision is that in a visitation manifestation, a heavenly personage or personages is actually present. However, in a mind vision, no personages are present, even though they might be seen. A mind vision might also include being able to see scenes of heaven or past, present, and future events. The Revelation comprising section 76 is an example of this type of manifestation. In their vision, Joseph and Sidney testified that they saw God the Father and Jesus Christ, but neither the Father nor the Son was actually present in the room when the prophet and Elder Rigdon were experiencing the vision. The two men also saw Lucifer's premortal rebellion and the conditions associated with the future inhabitants of the kingdoms of glory. What is interesting is the description given by the prophet and Rigdon of how the vision was received. They recorded, "The Lord touched the eyes of our understandings, and they were opened, and the glory of the Lord shone round about." What they were saying was that they saw things by their spiritual eyes as if they were literally seeing and experiencing it for themselves. It was so real to them that it was as if they were actually there. It would be something similar to what people experience when they watch a 3D movie in an IMAX theater, times 1 billion. Several years ago, I saw the IMAX movie Space Station 3D, and for 47 minutes, I sat mesmerized. The imagery was so real. It was almost as if I had been transported into space and was on board the International Space Station, 220 miles above the Earth. It wasn't until the credits appeared and the lights went up that I gained my senses and became aware that I was sitting in a movie theater. An impressive example of a mind vision comes from Zebedee Coltrane, an early church member who experienced an unusual vision with Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery. In 1834, while in New Portage, Ohio, the prophet requested Oliver and Zebedee go on a short walk with him. After finding a suitable place, Joseph requested they kneel and each pray in turn. After praying, the prophet said, "Now, brethren, we will see some visions." Joseph laid himself on the ground, and Oliver and Zebedee rested their heads on his outstretched arms. The heavens gradually opened, Coltrane recalled, and we saw a golden throne. And on the throne were two aged personages having white hair and clothed in white garments. These personages were the two most beautiful and perfect specimens of mankind he had ever seen. Joseph Smith said, "They were our first parents, Adam and Eve." Other examples of mind visions received by the prophet Joseph Smith include a vision of the temple location in Jackson County, Missouri, visions of the general features and designs of the Kirtland and Nauvoo temples, a vision of the pattern and organization of church councils and quorums, a visionary understanding of the ancient warrior Zelph, a vision of the post-mortal condition of the men who had died on Zion's camp, a vision of the Christian martyrs, and a vision of the common progenitors of a number of early church leaders. Several examples in scriptures demonstrate that ancient holy men often used divine